what's up everybody? Welcome back to Spiggs Gaming. Today I'm going to be discussing the Halo the Series episode 1. Now if I sound a little bit different, it's because I have a head cold, so that is why I may sound a little bit different. So, oh my gosh, I was very excited to watch this because there have been some movies made back in the day and some mini series made, and they were loved back then, but they weren't, how should I put this, they weren't as actiony as what the games portray. And granted, it was because one movie was like animated, one was live action, but it focused more on the character development than it did in the actual, fighting, even though fighting is a huge part of the Halo series. Now, Halo the series, the people who made it, they all, came out and was like, hey, don't focus on the games, the books, everything you know about the Halo games, about the Halo universe and the Master Chief and all of that, put that out of your mind. The only thing you need to know is that the basis of the game and the storyline and the books and the games, it's there. UNSC, Master Chief, Captain Keyes, Miranda, Cortana, that's all there. That's good that you know this. But basically, we're going to take that and make it into our own type of story. So, basically, I will be getting into a little minor spoilers here and there, so just to let you all know. But, the thing that really caught my eye when when it even started was like, oh my gosh, this is a rebel planet. And they hate the UNSC. So it was mind-boggling to me because that is something that we've never heard of in the games, the books, anywhere at all. Even people spewing out their own type of theories, and fan fictions, because I have read fan fictions. But, nothing has been said about that. And that is insane that these creators, these people, made that, because people going against the UNSC, that is just unheard of for us. So people hating the UNSC, that is a great spin on the stories that we know and the story that that we are going to know as this series continues. So, but then of course, this girl, 17, I think they said 16 or 17 is what she was. They find, she goes off by herself, her friends are getting drunk back behind her, and she goes and she finds a ship. She thinks, oh, it's not UNSC, but it still could be. It could be something else that they made. But, little did she know, and little did that entire planet know, that it was the Covenant. And everybody there thought that the Covenant was just UNSC propaganda. And, oh, wait, they're lying. They're trying to scare us, That is very interesting to see. And I applaud the writers, the director, everybody who was in on this, because that fighting scene is absolutely one of my favorite scenes ever made in any Halo universe way, shape, or form. Especially the combat that Chief did with the 3 elites. That was oh my gosh, that was amazing. So, and I feel bad, skipping ahead a tiny bit here, after Chief and Silver Team all show up and stuff like that, and they are, killing the elites and stuff like that, afterwards, and when the girl's dad, spoiler alert, dies, trying to save her, because he saw the elite coming towards her, one thing that doesn't make sense to me, and I kind of noticed was when, like, after the dad died, the elite was still there, was going to go get the girl. But one thing that I don't get is it showed Chief's point of view, and it showed how it is in the games. You know, it shows, like, the HUD and, like, the little mini map here, you know, and it's, like, his health bar at the top. It showed it. But it didn't show a red dot on there. And, you know, for anybody, I know that I'm comparing this to the games, and they told us not to, but I mean, that is, like, basic, you know, like, that is, like, basic Halo 101, you know, like, look at the radar. And I don't get why they didn't, like, every time it showed it, you know, it didn't show red dots on the radar. Or if it did, it didn't show it in this instance. And Chief was right there. I mean, it showed Chief being, like, what, like 20 feet away, 20, 30, 40 feet away from the elite. It should have picked it up on the radar, and that kind of bugged me, because he could have maybe been able to save the guy, to save the dad. Who knows? But, and also, why didn't Chief hear the dad screaming? You know, like, or why didn't anybody hear the dad screaming? Because it was, it was like, the calm before the storm, basically. But it was like the calm after the storm, because, you know, after all this fighting, all this chaos, and suddenly it's just silence, you know? And that's the one thing that I kind of, like, don't get, is that why didn't he hear that? That is one thing that I don't get. But also, when Chief and Kai went into the cave, and they found this little artifact thing, I find it cool that they included the 4-1er symbol for Reclaimer. Like, as soon as Chief touched it, that symbol came up, and it was really cool. And I'm interested to find out what's Chief's backstory in this. Because the fact that he touched it, and suddenly he has vague memories of a family, a dog, woods, you know, like, that is insane. I mean, and in Halo 4, in, like, the second level, there's a cutscene where Cortana switches back to Halsey, and she says, we're asking you to give up your family, your childhood, your future. And so that's kind of an insight into Chief and everything, because that is what was said the day Chief was taken, and all of that, if you guys have read or watched The Fall of Reach. But, you know, so that is, like, the only insight into Chief that we saw in the games. You know, we got more look and insight into Chief and his, like, family and stuff like that in The Fall of Reach and other books and stuff like that. Other stuff that has been talked about. So, but it is interesting that the show is bringing that to life in here. And it's interesting because Halsey and the other person that I do not like, who basically, like, branded Chief, like, you need to kill him. I don't like that. I do not like her at all. She needs to go away. But, one thing that I absolutely was like, ugh, like, I can kind of see why, because it's Halsey. You know, she's a jerk in some ways. In other ways, she's, like, amazing, but in most ways, she's a jerk. But she said that she was asked, I thought you suppressed those memories. Chief's memories. She said, I thought we did, or something to that effect. So that means that they thought that they basically, and it bugs me because they think that they just made a mind-numbing, order-following killing machine. And that kind of brings me to what was said in Halo 4 and was discussed, and Cortana asked Chief, before this is all over, promise me you'll figure out which one of us is the machine. And then at the very end of the game, Lasky tells Chief that soldiers aren't machines, we're just people. And so that was, you know, that was discussed and that was said. So, and at the very beginning of this episode, it shows the rebels talking about the UNSC and stuff like that. And this one guy saying that I fought Marines, with, basically saying what's the difference between a Marine and a Spartan. I liked what they said, that a Spartan is worth 100 Marines. I think it's more than that, but pretty much sums it up. But I hated that they said that the Spartans aren't human, because that is what they were all like pounding in their heads the entire time. And so, spoiler alert, when at the near the ending, this episode was 58 minutes long, which is if every episode is this long, it's going to be amazing. But at the near the very end of this episode, the girl, the only survivor left, her dad died for her to protect her and all that. That's amazing. She's the lone survivor. And now she is trying to carry on her dad's legacy, basically. And so now she has so much hatred for the UNSC. I mean, it's terrible. So she picked up a gun, a DMR, if I remember correctly. And Chief then was like, look, that's not going to hurt me at all. But this is where I have to separate Chief video game and Chief series, because, spoiler, he took off his helmet. Chief in the video games would never do that. Although there were times that he did, and we just didn't see it, obviously. In Halo 1, Halo 2. Did he do it in Halo 3? I don't think he did it in Halo 3. Not in Halo 4. In Halo 5, he did. And in Halo Infinite, he did not. So, in only a few select games, they kind of teased us on it. So, but he took off his helmet. And I think then that is when she was like, oh, the UNSC aren't bad. Because, they, like they said at the very beginning of the episode, all of the rebels thought that Spartans weren't humans. And suddenly, she sees this Spartan, this guy who saved her, even though given what, like, she hates him and the entire UNSC, and the fact that, like, her planet, hated the UNSC with a passion. The Spartans still dropped down and saved them. And she then saw this guy to take off his helmet and basically was like, I'm a human too. And that, which brings me to the guy who played Chief, which I apologize, I don't remember his name. I've read it, I just do not remember it. But one thing that I do like, I love Steve Downes' voice for Chief. He will always be Chief to me. But I think they are trying to find somebody else who can play Chief in the video games if needed. Because Steve Downes is in his early to mid 70s. So I think somebody else said this, and I kind of agree. Like, they're trying to find someone else to play Chief who could do it. And I agree that this guy, he does an amazing Chief. Like, he's amazing. He said that he went to, like, Master Chief boot camp. And he did an amazing job about it. Like, he played Chief amazingly. This is where it's so hard to differentiate the games with the series, because Captain Keyes was there. Captain Keyes died in the very first game. So, and it was so weird to see him. Like, what? I wish I could have gotten the guy who played Keyes, like, to come back and play him in the series. Because, so not like Keyes does any fighting, or at least not in the first episode, he didn't do any fighting. So it would have been cool if they could have brought the guy who played Keyes in the game, come back and, like, play him in this, like, in the series. That would have been cool. The intro was amazing. Absolutely loved it. And I'm excited to dive into, like, this series. I'm so excited because it looks amazing. Like, the Prophet Mercy from Halo 2, he looked amazing. Like, it was CGI, obviously, but it was amazing. I don't know why they have a human there. Like, she is, like, above the prophets. That's the feeling that I got. Like, that doesn't make any sense, though. And apparently she has a book that she reads it, and it helps her understand the humans, so then it makes her understand the demon. But it was really cool that they showed high charity. That was pretty cool. I mean, and I love that they are making Chief kind of more go off on his own. and like standing up for what he think is right, like for what he thinks is right, because Chief has always followed orders. That's Chief to a T. But if he feels like it's wrong, it is morally wrong, then he won't do it. I'm interested to see what the next episode is and to see what is going on. So, in short, although that is not short, but you all know me by now, so I go into great detail, especially if it's about Halo. But anyway, I would give the episode a 9 out of 10. The armor for the Spartans, like, I wish I could wear like Spartan armor for like just like 5 minutes. That'd be amazing. Maybe I need to do cosplay. I absolutely loved this episode, and I cannot wait for next week's episode. It is going to be amazing. I can already guarantee it, because it was so good. It was so good, and I cannot wait for it. Guys, comment down below on if you all think I should discuss episode 2, or just do this one and be done, or do episode 2 as well for next week. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Comment down below on if you guys have watched the video, and if so, what are your thoughts on it, and where do you rank it? I would love to talk to you all about the episode in the comments, and DM me on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, and I would love to talk about it with you guys. Be sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to get notified whenever I post videos, so you do not miss me playing any more video games, doing any more reactions, and talking about Halo or any other TV show that they're coming up with as video games, because apparently that's like happening now. Because I heard that like, they're making like a Fallout movie, and they're making a Last of Us TV show, so that's gonna be awesome. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, everybody.